Hey guys, welcome to episode 21 of the Crazy Talk podcast. In this week's episode, we'll be diving into recognizing our true emotions and what to do about them. As always, I hope you enjoy and get something meaningful from today's episode. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button or that follow button. I saw y'all, thank you for following, and drop a comment down below. Y'all didn't do that. To let me know how you're feeling about the show. Appreciate it. Love y'all. So grab a chair, make that cup of joe, and relax as we dive into our inner selves to recognize those hidden emotions.
Abundance flows to me when I get out of my own way. Life is so easy when I focus on what is great. I am worthy of reciprocated energy. I am worthy of a love that loves as deep as me. I am worthy of aligning with my higher self. I am worthy of
Sometimes when we express our feelings, we're not really expressing our true feelings. Whether consciously or not, it's very important for our healing journey to figure out our patterns and to change them. You know how when we get triggered, most of us, our natural reaction is to get pissed. We get angry and deflect to avoid feeling those raw, hidden feelings. That's our inner child. That's the undealt with pain. It's the inner child that doesn't know how to properly deal with those feelings. They just know they're hurt. Some would call this age regression. We get so triggered where we instantly become that small little child being screamed at by our parents. It's so important to take a moment and feel those inner child feelings without acting on them. Even though every fiber of our being is fighting to be heard and telling us to act out and rage to be heard, we have to fight it. I know it's hard. It's extremely difficult, and it takes fighting every impulse and instinct, but it must be done. If you take a moment to sit and look at the rage for what it is, you'll realize you're not actually angry. Anger is like a masking emotion. We react in anger because to say we're hurting and in pain and in need of comfort and reassurance, to have an open conversation about the situation versus running out and leaving no opportunity for true communication leaves us vulnerable. We risk rejection, abandonment, and invalidation. Things we feel we cannot bear to face because that's all we knew before. So instead of admitting the pain and hurt we're feeling or admitting the raw emotions we as humans are gifted and blessed with feeling, we react in anger or shut down and take our pain inwards, taking it out on ourselves. While on one hand, others can see both. Others can see, both are equally as harmful. This quiet BPD is very loud in our heads. Even though you don't see us screaming, we are. And I'm here to tell you to take it easy on yourself. Just like no one else deserves to have pain inflicted onto them, we are worthy of that same. Be nice to yourself. Forgive yourself. Give yourself permission to feel those feelings in all its glory. You're not crazy. You're just human. So where does this fear of vulnerability come from? It comes from years and years of abuse. Our brains have adapted to protect us. We've seen the worst of people, and we project that onto everyone around us. Our fear of abandonment tells us we can't express our discomfort in order to protect the peace and to keep everyone around. But at what cost to us, right? We may think that hiding our discomfort protects us from feeling and addressing it, but in reality, we're just prolonging the pain. Those suppressed feelings that go untalked about, unfelt fester into rage. I've said it before. Here I am saying it again. It poisons our mind and sends us spiraling. And if the people in your lives can't tolerate your feelings, they always say it's just too much, and your boundaries are too much, then they don't respect you. That's not love, and you'll never truly heal while in their presence. So now that we discussed, feeling those intense feelings of our inner child screaming, and the underlying causes of that, at least for me, it could be, it could be different for everybody. But I just seeing stuff on my BPD group, I just feel like that's pretty common. And again, I'm just sharing from my experience. But now that we talked about that, like, what do we do about it? Like, we can be aware of the feelings, but what do we do? We still have these feelings, of course. But once you acknowledge your true feeling and realize, like, oh, I'm not angry, I'm hurting right now. First of all, that's a lot easier. No, it's not easier. It's very hard to communicate. But once you allow yourself to acknowledge that, you can really give yourself permission to feel it. And acknowledging a feeling and giving yourself permission to feel it is two completely different things. And like, giving yourself permission is basically self-validation. That's really all it is. And once you start validating your own feelings and your own emotions, you stop seeking it externally. And this touches into last week's episode. Those affirmations. You do it. You start saying it to yourself. You don't need other people to tell you. Once you start validating your own feelings and giving yourself permission to feel them, you don't need to act out in rage and make people listen, because who cares? Though, and that's a lot of let me give you a little BPD math. When we're screaming and fighting, honestly, most of the time we're really in pain and we just don't know how to communicate it. I saw it's this really funny post on Facebook, and it was like, when we start an argument, but all we wanted was a little reassurance. It's hard to say, I need you. I want you right now. Like, I just want you to hold me. I want you to love me. I want you to tell me that you love me. Because for so long, that was frowned upon. That was pushed down. That we were told we were too needy. We were too much. You feel too much. I don't understand how you could feel too much, but we love, and we love hard. We just need to be told that we're loved back. I'm glad I'm in a place, I don't give a fuck if I'm annoying or not. I need you to, I'm like, do you love me? 20,000 times a day. I know what annoys the hell out of my man, but do I give a fuck? No, because I need that reassurance. And even though he's annoyed, he says yes 1,000 times, every time. That's not too hard. It's not too much to tell someone you love them. Getting too deep. But anyways, just that self-validation of your own feelings is so impactful. So it will help prevent with the rage. I've noticed a lot of this realization has helped so much. It's really insane to me how much of a difference it's made in my life. Like, I'm a very irritable person. I'm very easily overstimulated. I'm very easily frustrated. My whole house is unorganized as hell, but it frustrates me, but I can't seem to, get my life together enough to organize my house. But, so I'm just a very overwhelmed, frustrated person. But having the tools to acknowledge, like, I'm not just an angry person, I'm just overwhelmed and I need better organization skills, gives me a better foundation than just I'm crazy. And unfortunately, I see that a lot on Facebook, a lot in my group. A lot of people, they're saying like, I'm splitting right now. And I know that it makes no sense. I know that I'm just overreacting. I know that it's not valid. They're literally invalidating their own feelings in their own post, asking for help. And honestly, that breaks my heart. And I will post 1,000 times, like, I'll give you the validation you need. Because you're not crazy. You're human. You're feeling some type of way. We don't split just because. We split because we're triggered. And I will be doing an episode on that. I need to add it to my board. But feelings are like burn receptors. You know, they're there to tell you something's wrong, you know. So when you're feeling angry, you're feeling hurt, something's going on. Whether it be, in our mind, and I know with BPD we can get things twisted easily, but that's still not the same thing as making stuff up in our head. We are we're usually come from abusive households or abusive relationships. So that means we just need extra love. So, we have a lot of unwiring and rewiring to do. That doesn't mean our feelings are invalid. That doesn't mean we're not entitled to feel the way we're feeling. When we split, we are triggered by something, and it's important that we figure out what that something is so we can communicate that and properly express ourselves. Versus just, I'm pissed off because someone did something silly. Because, a lot of times to others, when you see something at its surface, it doesn't seem that deep. But once you realize that, hey, this took me here, this hurt me like my mom hurt me, that's something my mom used to say to me. You can be like, you can set those boundaries like, hey, please don't say that again. Or I don't like it. Or this does this. This makes me feel like this when you do this. That's better than, God, you always fucking do this. I can't stand when you do this. You're not getting anything across. You're placing blame. But when you're expressing how something negatively impacts you, that's a whole different game changer. Please don't invalidate your own feelings. If no one else will, you need to be your own cheerleader. And I'm here to cheerlead you right the hell on. You feel those goddamn feelings and every ounce of it. If someone's telling you you're too much, then you're too much for them, but you're not enough. You're just the right amount, okay? That means you're too much for them. They need to step right the fuck on out. And it doesn't make sense to me why we're so hard to deal with, because we go so above and beyond for others. But, we do have a lot of toxicity to work out. So, I guess I do understand, we can't force people to endure our toxic behaviors, and we are in charge of changing those patterns. And until then, we have to hold ourselves responsible. But that's still different than people not respecting your boundaries. We are entitled to feel. Just because someone else thinks it's silly does not mean it's silly. If they can't respect your boundaries are your boundaries to set in every way. Don't let somebody belittle them. Don't let somebody tell you you're wrong for feeling the way you're feeling. Because how can you feel something wrongly? Please, I'd love to hear how you can feel something wrong or too much. How can someone give us permission to be hurt? And why do we seek out that validation? Why do we? I know why. I know why. Because we didn't get it as a kid. But it's so frustrating when you feel like you need someone to tell you it's okay to be mad, because you're never going to get that. I think I said this before, but you're just never going to get that. So that's why it's so important you do that. you know, and I'm glad we have a BPD community where we can get that from other BPD members. But, you know, they all always also don't always give the best advice. But, you know, I don't really give advice. I just give not helpful, but just, you know, uplifting compliments, you know, like validation and stuff like that. Because I'm by far not responsible for how other people's, nope, because I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I'm just here to share positivity and make you feel a little bit better. That's all. That's all. And share my experience. You know, I've come so far. So I hope that I'm giving good advice. Well, I don't really think of it as advice. I just hope that somebody's getting something useful out of this, because I feel like a completely different person than when I started this 6 months ago. Completely different person. I'm very happy. And every one of you can be too. That's all I got. I don't have any more positive messages. Oh, but I do want to say, because I've been posting on social, not having even posted on social, but I do want to say, if you want to come onto the show, please, please, please send us an email at let me look it up. Hold on. I can't remember. I have too many emails. The only crazy talk podcast at gmail.com. If you're interested in being on the show, email us there. If you do not want to be on the show, but you have questions you would like to ask, whether it be your own personal experience, you want advice on a situation, or you are a loved one and you know a BPD member and you want advice on a situation, please send in your questions so I could cover that on my podcast. I'd love to. You could stay anonymous. I would just love to broaden the experience that I'm talking about, because BPD looks different in so many different people. And there's so many people that go undiagnosed. So that's why I really don't like to just call it a BPD podcast, because not everybody would classify as BPD, but share a lot of the same symptoms. But yes, so please email me your questions, and so we can add that into some episodes. Email me if you're interested in being on the show. I'd love to have you, because at the end of the day, I want to share as many experiences as I can, because this is by far not about me. This is all about y'all, getting y'all to heal, just in putting more information about borderline personality disorder and about mental health in general out there for everybody that feels like an outcast and feels like they're alone and feels like they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. Okay, that's it. Love ya. See you next week. Bye.
Abundance flows to me when I get out of my own way. Life is so easy when I focus on what is great. I am worthy of reciprocated energy. I am worthy of a love that loves as deep as me. I am worthy